Alan? Alan Palmer? I was far from here and dreaming over a cup of coffee in the hotel lobby. I had just closed my laptop and was thinking about my wife of 12 years, mother of my 3 children, images of her in her lover's usual suite early Wednesday evening. At the moment, she and her lover were having sex. I had a contract that obviously wasn't worth the paper it was written on. She signed it after vowing to give up everyone else. Evidence to the contrary testified to this lie. This environment was business as usual. So for them, it was business as usual, business as usual. It was difficult for me to think about anything else. My ears were blocked at the sound of my name. I reacted slowly and turned my head towards the speaker. She was tall and slender, an attractive redhead with a rather hesitant smile on her flawless face. I didn't recognize her and looked at her, first down and then up again. She was dressed in an elegant blue striped business suit that showed off the most beautiful knees and legs I had seen in a long time. Both her hands were occupied with an elegant thin briefcase and an expensive black leather handbag. I think I smiled back at her, more out of embarrassment than welcome, desperately trying to place her face among recent acquaintances, former work colleagues, friends' wives, school moms, or clients of the gym I'd recently joined. I knew for sure that she would undoubtedly look good in running shorts. Otherwise, nothing. Complete emptiness. I didn't know her from Ava. She obviously knew me. That was obvious. Perhaps she was a messenger from the lawyer who was shown my photograph. "Sorry?" I said, stupidly. There was something intangibly familiar about her, but that something eluded me. I tried to figure out where I could have seen her before. I estimate she was about 35 or 36 years old, about 10 to 12 years younger than me. I lost all my hair a long time ago and have been shaving my head for about 10 years now, so she must have known me somewhere in decades past. My eyes were probably still wet from seeing and thinking about my wife being so wonderfully fucked by her lover, and through my tears, it was almost impossible to fully focus on this stranger's face. Anyway, that's my excuse. I was sure of one thing. The redhead was a cool thing, and far from my level. Heck, at my age, with my looks and current relationship circumstances, they all were. Her bright smile froze at my lack of recognition, and her face quickly took on a frown. Her lips pouted, and she looked, well, offended. It was crazy. No one looked offended around me, upset, angry, disappointed, furious. Especially disappointed, but not offended. After all, I was the #1 dumbass of all time. Who cared what I thought? Where was my life anyway? My sweet bitch wife, who was 10 years younger than me, was a successful editor of a large circulation women's magazine, and I sacrificed my career as an advertising copywriter to become a stay-at-home husband, and it was funny to me. I was reduced to a role of a caring father for my 2 sons, 11 and 3 years old, and my daughter, 7 years old. Meanwhile, my wife had been hanging out with her boss at work for, well, supposedly for years. A recent DNA test of my children showed that I am not even remotely related to any of them. I had lost the few features I might have started with, and my body had been allowed to get fatter, and I was now at my lowest level of self-confidence. I was never even vaguely confident. I even doubted my sanity, knowing that nothing was working out for me and I was miserable as sin. Even knowing what I should do and what I had already started to do did not give me strength, and my actions only confirmed how completely ignorant and hopeless I had been my entire life. Just sitting in the coffee shop of this luxury hotel, watching the elevator doors and waiting for my wife and lover to come out before running into them both. However, short of killing them, I was powerless to do anything about their affair other than end my involvement in her life. On top of that, I had to deal with this beautiful red-headed woman who was practically growling at me because I couldn't remember who the hell she was, so I frowned back. Who is she to criticize my underdeveloped cognitive abilities? Didn't she know that I had a lot of work lately and it was up to the top of my skinny neck? She resolutely extended her jaw, leaned towards me and punched me quite hard in the chest, exposed her perfect white teeth and said in a low, soulful voice, Just because you left me as your girlfriend 20 years ago doesn't mean you can treat me like a complete stranger after all this time. We lived together for 5 damn years. One day, you even proposed to me. You full asshole. She pointed a pointing finger at my bruised chest to emphasize each of the last 3 words. Then she threw herself into the soft leather chair opposite me, threw her briefcase and bag on the table between us, slamming my empty coffee cup into the saucer, and continued to look at me. Pending, with folded hands, continuing to wait while my exhausted mind ran through images of her. None of them matched, not quite. "Leslie?" I asked, not believing in the possibility of this even for a moment. "Leslie Collins? Who did you take me for, Florence, damn it, Nightingale?" She snapped. "But you can't be like that," I muttered. You are young and beautiful." Her frown softened, and her once oh-so-familiar bright smile returned to pierce my heart, just below the fresh bruises. I didn't think that my pain could become even worse than it was, but at that moment it became stronger. I really didn't need it. Please God, I never ask for anything, as you know very well, but don't let me get 2 of my worst nightmares at the same time. "Leslie, my God, I can't believe it," I stammered, using as much effort as my weak knees could handle to stand from the deep leather chair and lift her from mine to hug her tightly. I didn't dare kiss her, as I had already noticed the wedding ring and engagement ring with a huge stone or eternity ring on her left hand. It was impossible not to notice them. "Wow, muscles," she said approvingly, her hands running over my shoulders and upper arms as we parted. "Do you play sports, Alan?" I'm impressed. I must have turned bright red. My face was very hot. "I've been going to the new complex in the school gym for a month now, 5 times a week in the morning," I explained. "I received a week of free classes as an introductory offer, and I enjoyed concentrating my anger on the machines and the punching bag so much that about 3 weeks ago, I signed a 6-month contract. Although I still don't have any abs to speak of." I grinned stupidly. "Oh my God," I thought. "When I'm nervous, I say all kinds of nonsense. Stay here longer and you'll get used to how pathetic I am." We both sat down at the table holding hands. "Damn," I thought, instinctively running my thumb over her diamond ring. It was just huge. In comparison, the yellow diamond chip ring I bought for her and lost a fortune when I sold it back to the jewelers seemed pathetic. I removed my thumb and deliberately stroked the knuckles of her index and middle fingers. "Anyway," I added, as beaming as my frazzled ego would allow, maintaining my first smile today since dropping my son Nat off at play school and greeting the friendly household, "what happened to you? You've probably lost more than 22 kilograms since I last saw you. You look absolutely stunning and no wonder I didn't recognize you at all. You're not blonde anymore," she laughed. "I only looked blonde thanks to bleach when we were together. I naturally have light brown hair, but now I prefer this auburn look. I changed it and joined the gym, funny enough, almost immediately after you fucking left me, you asshole." "I never abandoned you," I protested. "It was you who left me the very moment I asked you to marry me." I remembered it too clearly and had nightmares about it for years afterwards. 5 years and 2 damn months together, and she refused me and admitted that she wanted to have sex with other men. With men, not with another man, or just someone else, but with men in the plural. God, I'm so pathetic. I always fall in love with the wrong damn woman at the wrong damn time. No, let it be every damn woman I've ever loved, every damn time. We let go of each other's hands and looked at each other again. I think we were both clenching our fists. I know I squeezed. I couldn't see her hand because I was rigidly maintaining eye contact, just as I imagined I would do when faced with a hissing, spitting cobra. "I never left you," she insisted, and then continued in a more deliberate tone. "I just said that we should see other people before the wedding, and then we didn't see each other again. Until now." Her steely blue-gray eyes glowed as she spat her last words in my direction. The new hair color suited her, she had a very short temper, and I was clearly not in her good books and probably never had been. To be honest, I didn't have a single positive entry in anyone's book right now. I was loved only by my children, but they were not even my children, as I recently discovered. Wait a minute, I thought. She's trying to get away with leaving me to justify her cruel actions all those years ago. Does she still think I'm a fucking weakling? Well, she picked the wrong day for it. No, that's not true, I stated firmly, struggling to maintain composure and a level voice as I explained the situation we found ourselves in half a lifetime ago. When you rejected my marriage proposal, you said that you weren't sure that I was the one. Yes, I made little bunny ears with the index and middle fingers of both hands when I said that. I couldn't help myself, okay? I continued, and you said you wanted to try other partners to see if you could find the one. It clearly wasn't me because you said, while I was still on bended knee and everyone in that fancy restaurant was looking at us, that you would know it when you find it. Bunny ears again. I'm so pathologically predictable. In any case, I am completely fine now. We lived in the same apartment for 5 years and almost 2 months. For God's sake. So I clearly wasn't the one, was I? I loved you enough to devote my life to you, and then you basically admitted that you never truly loved me. I wasted these 5 years and more. Well, I hope you found the one in the end. I even surprised myself that I posted all this without interruption. I think Leslie was stunned. A long moment passed as she looked at me with round eyes, her lips trying to form a circle to keep her jaw from hitting the table, before she answered, quite quietly, almost too quietly for me to hear. Yes, I think so, in the end. And you? Not really. I think I've calmed down. I was still seething. But you're wrong. So wrong, Alan. I really loved you. It's just that I was confused, and confused then. The next day at work, I kept thinking about you. And when I got home, desperate to see you so we could make up, you had already moved out. You left your empty drawers open and disappeared. I was devastated. I was going to ask you to propose to me again, but you disappeared, and I never saw or heard from you again. Who does this after 5 years and 2 months of marriage? Where the hell have you gone? It didn't seem to me that you were confused. Or confused, I snapped, still full of anger. You said no very clearly and then went on about how you wanted to date other men, that we should see other people. You explained, reminding me that you were a virgin when we met and therefore believed that you needed to test other men before getting married. I didn't use exactly these. I intervened fully. You mentioned that you need to get more experience, probably to see if I can handle this damn task in bed or something like that. In fact, you said that you had been thinking about this for some time and had not found the right moment to bring this matter to my attention, until that damn night in the restaurant when I was on my knees, offering you a ring after spending most of a month's salary on it. Well, being asked to make a decision about my future at a time when I had already been seriously thinking about our relationship for a couple of months, it certainly focused my mind. She looked towards her hands, her rings, breaking eye contact with me for a moment. She looked up again. On our 5th anniversary together, I thought you were going to pop the question then. I couldn't, I interrupted. Let me finish, Leslie waved her off. I'll let you speak. I nodded obediently. I was expecting your proposal and was going to say yes, but you never proposed. We went to the zoo for the whole day with a picnic. We cuddled on the grass on a blanket and held hands all day. We made love as soon as we returned. We didn't even get to the bedroom. The landing floor was all we got to. Our clothes were strewn all over the hallway and stairs. We made love 2 more times when we got to the bedroom and again on Sunday morning. It was a wonderful day and night, and you didn't fucking ask me to marry you, you bastard. I was still saving up for the ring, I begged, softening. It cost me a fortune. I couldn't take out any more loans because I was at the maximum limit, and it took 4 months before I raised enough money, which was twice as long as I had hoped. I even made your sister find out your finger size so it would fit. I couldn't ask you to marry me without a wedding ring, could I? Gee, she said, reaching out and taking my hands again. I was heartbroken when you left me. A couple of days later, I took a day off from work and went to where you worked then. I was no longer there. I know. They said that you left the day before and left no notice, no forwarding address, nothing. Your P-45 arrived in the mail at the apartment about 6 weeks later. That first night, I tried to talk to your mom, but she wouldn't talk to me. She called me a heartless bitch and said that I broke your heart and that you moved away. The elevator dinged, and I looked past Leslie, but there were only a couple of strangers and a teenage girl in tacky striped tights. I thought about looking at the laptop again to see if they were done, or in the shower, or still fucking unconscious, but I couldn't bring myself to look, even if Leslie wasn't there. Some images were forever seared into my skull, and I didn't want to reinforce any of them. The lawyer could access the recording that the private investigator had arranged, and she was paid well enough to handle it. I just wanted it all to end. Leslie was an unexpected complication that I could have done without. The waitress, who seemed to be hovering over the tense exchange between us, noticed my gaze and took a hesitant step towards me. She was quite pretty, I noticed. Perhaps it was a sign that I had already forgotten Natalie. There is little chance that this will happen in a hurry. I nodded at her and picked up my empty cup as the waitress walked over to our corner. The name tag pinned to her starched blouse read one word: Rosamond. A beautiful name for a beautiful girl, I thought. It somehow fit the classy hotel, which was not the case with my wife and her lover upstairs. "Would you like some coffee, Leslie?" I asked. "It's very tasty here." "Yes, please. Actually, that's what I came here for." She turned to the waitress and smiled. "Large skinny latte, please." "I'll still have a big black filter, thank you," I ordered, trying to smile. Rosamond smiled back at me and left with my empty cup. I made a mental note to leave her a good tip. "Scotland," I said. "Scotland. A month in Edinburgh, then 18 months in Glasgow, then in London for a couple of years, and came back here about 15 years ago. This is the answer to your question." "Where did you go?" "I followed you to Edinburgh after your P-45 appeared. First of all, I went back to your company located here and talked to your buddy, the other copywriter in your office, Peter or Paul or whatever. Paul Metcalf. He was never my friend." "Exactly. It wasn't," Leslie snorted. "He made me go out with him twice before he gave me any information." "Bastard!" I growled. Even after 20 years, it was still annoying. I guess some things are never forgotten. Did he manage to get into Leslie's pants? They married? Was he the one who bought her the stone and had her whenever he wanted? Did I really want to know? Hell yeah, I wanted to know. But I would never ask. No, I will definitely never ask. No way in the world. Leslie interrupted my thoughts. "Yes, he was a real bastard. That Paul, he kept trying to get under my skirt?" Leslie hesitated, and then smiled, as if remembering some magical memory. Creature, really? Did this cute little shit really get my girl?" Okay, she was my ex-girlfriend who I cared about so much that it still hurt me to this day. My thoughts were screaming in my head as I did everything I could to keep my poker face on. Leslie didn't seem to notice, she just continued to chatter. I had to give him a second body. "The wine bar that used to be on Church Lane is now a specialist butcher. They make great sausages there." This blow made that idiot cry real tears. Then he told me that you went to their Edinburgh office to work out your leave. Yes, bloody blow. The asshole got what he deserved, good old Leslie. I've never been prouder of her. Okay, even if she never physically hit me in the reproductive organs, there, in the restaurant, when I pressed my knee on the floor and moved my leg to the side, it always seemed to me that she did it. I still bear the bruises from that metaphorical blow. At least Paul's pain went away within minutes, and I'm still walking funny, 20 years later. At that time, I even hated Leslie. Will you believe it? Here she was, the love of my life, and it seemed like for a few short moments I actually stopped loving her and let my feelings flow in the completely opposite direction. Leslie was still talking over my stumbling thoughts. "Do all women have Duracell in their mouths, or just the ones I know? By the time I got to Edinburgh, you were gone. They repeated the story that you only worked there for a month and then left. I talked to Justine for a long time. I think she liked you. which is probably why she opened up to me to find out more about your story. She said that that month, no one could reach you, although they tried everything to make you stay, but you left. She saved some of your best slogans and advertisements. She showed them to me, pasted into an album. Dear girl, Justine, a talented artist, I remembered. Justine thought you were special. Definitely very special. She was disappointed that you were completely immune to her obvious charms. Well, charming, if you don't mind girls with big breasts who speak with funny accents. Then your trace disappeared. I tried to contact your professional agency, but they could not give me any information. I even tried to contact your mom again, but she still refused to talk to me. What happened to you, Alan? I was hanging around, working as hard as I could, still trying to get my stuff published. He worked as a freelancer for several advertising agencies in Glasgow and then London. I spent some time checking texts for magazines and book publishers, and then I came home, got married, had a bunch of children, and here I am. Wow, she said. That was a quick overview of your life. I had nothing to say. I was still looking at the elevator doors, waiting for my wife and her companion. So Leslie spoke again to fill the silence. So I already told you that I went on a date about 6 weeks later, but it was only to try to track you down, not to try other men, you know? And I know you fought off the black-haired, green-eyed beauty that was Justine, she said coyly. How long did it take before you went on a date again? Crap. What was she trying to do to me? Does she try to crush me every time she sees me? I sighed loudly, my shoulders sagging. I suddenly realized that I was trying to take a pose, shoulders back, chest forward, stomach pulled in. For what? I wasn't interested in getting Leslie involved, twice bitten and all. She definitely wasn't interested in me. So, why do we men adopt these poses? I haven't seen this woman for 20 years. Once upon a time, she was the girl of my dreams, but then she practically squeezed all the vitality out of me. Not satisfied with this, she now seemed to seek to consign me to the ground, to erase my very existence, to erase my essence. What did I do to her besides worship the ground she walked on? 39 months, I said quietly. What? Leslie leaned forward conspiratorially. I answered, 3 years, 3 months, and about 10 days. This silenced her. Finally, damn it, 15 to 40 new balls and please, I've stopped the rot in my serving game. I looked at her face. She looked amazing. You would never give her 45 years. She must have been bathing her skin in virgin ice crystals delivered daily from Mont Blanc. She was 11 out of 10, off the charts, simply beautiful. However, I felt like some gears were moving somewhere in her head. Goodbye or sex? Both in one evening, I said. Well, actually, after midnight, the second of 2. Wow. I was going to brag about how long I waited, but now I guess I won't. It's just childish, isn't it? Just as I told you mine, you should at least tell me about yours. It didn't look like she was going to answer. Ice Queen. I was right about the Mont Blanc ice, only she was sitting on a block of ice instead of splashing it on her face. Okay then, I asked, changing tack. When did you start dating your husband? Gotcha. Oh, do we really have to do this? She whined. We are too old and there was too much water under the bridge for all this. Can't we just kiss each other on the cheeks, pretend we're old friends again, and part on good terms, probably never seeing each other again? Dodge, twist, twist. You were evasive in that restaurant, to my eternal embarrassment. 20 years ago, you are evasive in this cafe now. When we meet again as 2 old retirees, can we meet in the laundry room so I can at least do a week's worth of laundry while you pace around the mulberry bush once more? Good, good. I will tell you. Leslie looked up, either in search of inspiration or divine intervention. Give me strength. She looked straight at me. Her eyes seemed softer, even more beautiful than ever. I thought you'd be back the next day, she said quietly. Then maybe after the weekend, almost certainly a week later. But you never showed up. No one admitted that they knew where you were. I realized that our friends were my friends, and you didn't seem to have any of your own that I knew about. It seemed like your whole world was me. I never realized how much I hurt you, hurt us, killed our relationship. She took my right hand in both of hers and squeezed it, just as tightly as Natalie did when David was born. A single tear formed in each eye and slowly rolled down her cheeks. I raised my left hand and ran my thumb over her right cheek, soft as a child's and smooth as alabaster, wiping away a tear. I then wiped her left cheek, gently rubbing the back of my hand upward. She smiled sweetly and continued. So I gave it a month. That was enough to repay me for my treatment of you, wasn't it? But no show. 4 months later, it was your birthday. I sent you a card, a long letter and flowers to your mother's address. Then I sent Christmas cards to you both. You didn't send one, just like your mom. She didn't answer her calls and slammed the door in my face when I came for New Year's. I sent another card on Valentine's Day, then it was our 6th anniversary. We didn't see each other for 10 months, and I didn't hear from you. Finally, a year has passed since you left, and I have no hope left. I've lost a lot of weight. Summer came, and I lost my house too. I couldn't keep up with the payments myself, and my savings ran out. After I sold the house, I sent your mom a check for your half. God, did you receive it? I know it was cashed. Yes, I received it. Mom kept your cards and mail for me, and I picked them up that summer while driving by. That year, I used that $65,000, along with my savings, to put down a deposit on a house. And when did Mr. Two Carats appear? I pointed to her beautiful blue and white diamond. About 14.5 months after you left, in addition to a new wardrobe to suit my new body, I spent the remaining money on living expenses, sharing an apartment with a couple of friends. Allison, who you don't know, and my best friend Lucy, who you probably remember. I remember Lucy. I smiled. She turned wearing blue jeans and knotted t-shirts into an art form. What happened to her? It's better for you not to know. No, it's not worth it. What if I wanted to? What if I suddenly became a free man, for example? I grinned mischievously. Just a guess. Leslie sighed. 4 children, 4 different fathers, none of whom ever paid a penny in child support, and... She paused. The only way she can get through the doors is sideways like a crab. She looked at me with her mouth firmly compressed and tilted her head to one side as if to say, I told you that you wouldn't want to know, but you didn't take no for an answer. Are you happy now? Well, Leslie didn't know that my own situation was about to be completely turned upside down, so I kept all my options open. Lucy, who knows? Maybe she was as desperate as I was. So you lived in the same apartment with Lucy and Allison? What next? What then? Lucy worked part-time as a secretary, and her office hosted a summer picnic for employees and their families. Lucy brought me along as a guest. There I met my husband, and we sort of became close. So there was a date, and then sex? No, first sex, then a date. Leslie blushed. In fact, we hardly went on dates at all. We only met for sex, great sex, and a lot of sex. We were both so busy with work that we mostly only met for sex. I know this sounds really bad, but I haven't had sex in a long time. 15 months is the 15 cycles where I was at my most fertile, and I didn't have what I was really missing. You were gone forever, and my hormones were screaming at me. I was horny, and he was stunningly handsome. He still is, actually, and still dynamite in the bedroom. No, too much information. The damned Mont Blanc ice she was sitting on must have melted and flowed down the drain. Her face was so red. Damn, why do women look even sexier when they're embarrassed and out of control of their emotions than when they act icy calm and control themselves? Or is it just me that seems so? Was he your only lover? Without thinking about the consequences, I muttered. Why am I torturing myself by asking her this? No, it's impossible. Every man in this room, every man who walked past us, almost ran into something because he was looking at Leslie. Health and safety should force her to carry a fluorescent warning sign. She couldn't limit herself to just 2 lovers, especially after she unceremoniously dumped me, no doubt just to play in the field. She nodded. Damn again. I know that women cannot be trusted, and this one in particular never, from bitter, bloody experience. But I believed her. It didn't make me any better that she was married to Mr. Damn Perfect Lover. "So," Leslie continued, "what have you been up to lately?" I smiled. There was so much I wanted to say and so much not to say. She didn't say, "since then," so I decided I could just do a quick sketch, leaving out all the important details. Or, of course, I can dump it all on her. "Well, since I'm already getting coffee, maybe you can tell me the latest events first." She looked at me, trying to understand what I was thinking or what I was hiding. Why am I playing with her? A slow, mysterious smile appeared on her full red lips. She was made up perfectly, not heavily, but enough to darken and perhaps lengthen her eyelashes from the light brown natural ones I remembered. Her lips were a glossy red, her cheeks smooth and matte, no doubt from subtle cosmetic prep. Her auburn hair, thick and full, was pulled back from her open forehead and styled into a neat bun at the back of her head, a few strands softening her delightful contours like a gentle whisper. She looked amazing. "I am an investment broker, advising on life insurance, ISAs, income tax and investment portfolios. I work in the area for the National Lottery. This morning, I met a nice older couple here in a hotel room who had won the jackpot and left them with a few suggestions to consider." Leslie paused, a smile on her face as she recalled the recent meeting, no doubt. "Continue," I encouraged. "I live in West Park." Her voice rose, as if she was asking if I knew about exclusive executive homes in the area. I knew, but it was far from my place of residence. "We have one daughter, Belinda, who is studying catering at college and wants to become a pastry chef, perhaps have her own store. Either that or pursue 3-day events professionally." She smiled, remembering her daughter. I imagined what Belinda was like. She could have been our daughter in another life, as beautiful as Leslie, I'm sure. Since she had to be at least 18 to attend college, Leslie didn't seem to wait long to find the one. It took me 3 years before I started dating anyone, by which time Leslie was the mother of a small child. Still keeping a sweet smile on her beautiful face, Leslie asked softly, "And you?" I think I snorted involuntarily. It wasn't a very good start. Why should I be offended by her perfect life? A full-time, high-paying job, a beautiful house, probably driving around in a high-end BMW or Lexus, with a beautiful, ambitious daughter, a happy-as-hell husband, and looking amazing herself. Life really wasn't fair, wasn't it? But no one ever promised me justice. Leslie never promised me anything. I clearly took her for granted, so everything that happened to end our relationship was my fault. She was perfect, and I'm not just saying that. She was, and I always thought so. Perhaps too perfect for the little former, imperfect me. The fact that I was only an intermediate link in her life was not her fault. We lived with her for 5 years and 2 months. It was one of the best 62 months of my life, and I have to be grateful and thank her for it. It was much more than I deserved. Only the time spent with my children from my marriage came close to this ideal period. Emphasizing the positive, I thought, this was the day I could be assertive, and when I finally took my destiny into my own hands. So I pulled my lips into the biggest smile I could muster and told her the saccharine version of my life. "Actually, I have a wonderful life," I said, "and after today, she will become even better." I paused briefly as a smiling Rosamond approached with a tray containing our coffee. I helped her unload them and thanked her before she cheerfully returned to her compartment. The view from behind of the departing waitress was as good as the view from the front, and my gaze naturally lingered. Leslie looked at me with a questioning look. I grinned. I couldn't help it. At this moment, I suddenly became very happy. The veil of suffering lifted, and I felt surprisingly good. It was as if I had finally accepted my fate, that I had reached the lowest point I could possibly reach, and it could only get better. Okay, looks like I'll have to add a little extra to the artificially sweetened tale I've been meaning to weave. Leslie, you caught me at a moment when my life is in the balance. Today, everything is changing. This sad, pathetic, bald, slightly overweight non-entity has been pushing me around for over 25 years. "Sorry, darling," I said, holding and squeezing one of her hands and taking a deep breath. I was a little unfair in including you in my life of subservience. Today, my 12-year marriage has finally ended, although I now understand that it did not begin in the first place. I was deceived. I was cheated into a marriage that never really existed. I have no career other than writing a few short romantic stories for a women's magazine for pocket money. I am a stay-at-home husband taking care of my 3 children. I paused, collecting my thoughts. How much to say? What to leave out? After all, after today, I'll never see Leslie again, will I? Go on, Leslie urged. In those years you wrote all the time but could not publish, except for advertising texts for an advertising agency. You are the most loving and sensitive person I have ever known, and I see that you have become a great father. Please continue, honey. My children, whom I adore, are my life. David and Lisa are at school, and little Nathaniel, Nat, was at play school this morning where I dropped him off. But an hour or so ago, my mum picked him up. The older 2 children will go to Grandma's for tea after school, and I will meet them there and tell them that their mother will never come home. Leslie sat stunned. I continued my story of grief. All my wife's things are in black garbage bags in the garage, and all the locks on my house were changed this morning. I took another deep breath. About 3 weeks ago, I found out that my children are not my children. The DNA clinic said that the probability that I am the father is worse than 1,000,000 to 1. Oh, Alan, I'm so sorry. Is it possible that the clinic mixed up your sample with someone else? Shouldn't we do it again? No chance, I said sadly. With my mother's blessing, I sent her samples along with mine and the children. There were 2 samples each, so they kept one as a backup. The results confirmed that my mother and I are closely related, but there is virtually no chance that her grandchildren are even remotely related to her. Never mind the results. They are still my children. I just wanted to check the results to find out the extent of my wife's duplicity. I may not be their biological father, but I am 100% their father and always will be. Their seed donor will never get their hands on them. By this time, I felt myself starting to speak loudly. Rosamond looked at me strangely from her place at the counter. Even Leslie looked sad and worried, now holding both of my hands. Of course, these were my children, I reasoned, calming down. I sat at home with them, fed, changed, and bathed them. I looked after them during their illnesses, took them to vaccinations, their first steps, first words, first day at nursery, school, high school, all their games, activities, homework. They had my speech, my manners, they had my family values. They didn't have the same morals as their mother and biological father, who were having sex with each other in the hotel room above us this afternoon. The children almost certainly have the same father, which means that my wife has been regularly sleeping with the same lover for 12 years, at least as long as I've been married to her. Well, she's always happy for him. Today, I washed both of them. I'm so sorry. I wish I could stay, but I have to go, Alan. I have another meeting in town, and I'm late because I should have left a long time ago. Come here, Alan. Please, honey. Leslie stood up and pulled me close, and we hugged each other like 2 ex-lovers, one comforting the other over a great loss. I buried my face in her sweet-smelling red hair. I cried quiet, selfish tears for what I had lost. I heard the elevator ding. We both heard. At the same time, we turned towards the sound. The elevator doors opened and several people got out. An elderly, smiling couple walked out first, holding hands, smiling, and looking around to get their bearings. They saw Leslie and I hugging each other and waved happily. Leslie waved back automatically. Then, a couple of businessmen with some conference badges, several brochures in their hands, engrossed in conversation, came out behind them, almost bumping into the back of an elderly couple who stopped to look at Leslie and me. The elevator then ejected its last 2 passengers, a man and a woman, holding hands and carrying small overnight bags. They made a wonderful couple. He was tall and tanned, blonde, freshly shaven, stunningly handsome, and wearing an expensive handmade suit. He was clearly old money, with a sizable fortune. She was a little shorter, slender, brunette, dressed just as stylishly, but she was an arrogant, driven, ambitious, controlling, certainly beautiful, even radiant bitch. They looked only at each other and, leaving the elevator, kissed passionately and moved away in different directions, holding outstretched hands as long as possible, maintaining smiling eye contact. Undoubtedly, everyone was thinking, "See you soon, darling." I let go of Leslie, walked around the leather chair with thick buttons, and resolutely headed towards the elevator. Looking over my shoulder, I asked, "Keep an eye on my laptop, please, Leslie. I'll be back soon." I nodded and smiled at the nice older couple as I walked past them, although my smile may have been a little dark. The businessmen saw my determined approach and nervously parted to allow me to pass between them. And there they were, a couple oblivious to anything but themselves, fingertips still touching as a sign of goodbye. "Natalie?" I said sharply, as if addressing a naughty child. She looked back, somewhat shocked to see me. "Alan? What?" I looked away from her amazed eyes and focused my attention on him. "Old man, it's not what it seems," her lover began, but I stopped him with a blow to the bridge of my nose with my right fist. Those punching bag sessions in the school gym bore fruit. He fell like a sack of potatoes, blood gushing from his nose, splattering both Natalie and me. Natalie screamed, shrill, short, and sharp. "Cute?" There was a strangled scream behind me. I turned to see Leslie, her purse slung over one shoulder, her briefcase in one hand, and my laptop clutched in the other. Her face was gloomy, disapproving. Perhaps she hated violence. She wouldn't hurt a fly, I remembered. Leslie only hurt me by rejecting me. A groan from behind warned me that Natalie's lover was getting up. I turned, raising my fists into a defensive position that my boxing coach at the gym had recently taught me. He assured me that I would never become an opponent, but he taught me both how to hit and how to take touching blows. "Just land one or two good blows," he said wisely, "and remember them while you recover from the beating you're about to take. Alan, you're a writer, not a fighter." Damn, I wasn't even a better lover than I was a fighter. His handsome face no longer looked so handsome, his lips distorted into a terrible grimace. He was taller, heavier, and had more range than me, but I had taken a few hits over the last month or so and was willing to give as much as I took. I thought my beating would be cathartic. He also held his fists comfortably, moving his legs well as he circled me, our eyes warily looking at each other. Hell, he was probably trained in school, and probably continued to train regularly since then. "Roger!" A scream came out of nowhere and momentarily distracted his attention from me. He looked to his right, and then a flash of silver hit him in the face. This time, he fell backwards. Natalie was on her knees and sobbing next to her prostate lover. I turned to face Leslie. She was holding my mangled laptop. "Sorry, I'm right-handed," she said by way of apology. "Nothing that couldn't be replaced." I shrugged, freeing her from the wreckage. "I'll call the office and reschedule the next meeting for the morning." She took her phone out of her bag. "I assume your mother still serves fish fingers and alphabet spaghetti to the children for tea?" "Almost every time," I said. "The perfect comfort food. I haven't had a fish stick sarnie with ketchup for years. She..." "Do you think..." "Keeps a large supply in the refrigerator?" "On the way to the high-rise building, there is an Iceland store. We'll stock up. Better to play it safe." Great. She found the desired entry in the telephone directory and dialed the number. "Don't make an appointment too early in the morning," I said. "Mr. Jones, Leslie. Look, something unexpected came up, so excuse me. Tomorrow afternoon at the same time?" "Great. See you later. Bye." She put the phone down and looked at me again with soft, gray-blue eyes. "I think introductions are necessary," she said. "Meet hubby, otherwise known as Roger, my soon-to-be ex-husband." "Roger? Oh, he's still passed out. Perhaps, Alan, you can recommend a good lawyer." "I have her business card somewhere," I said. "I'll look for it for you later." "Thank you," she smiled. "So he wasn't the one?" I took a risk, holding out my hand to her. "Still looking?" He wasn't the one. Not for a millisecond. Not in a million years. "I've decided, Alan," she said, threw her thin, graceful hand into mine, and we purposefully moved towards the exit. I took out a 10, changed my mind, and made it 15, and handed it to Rosamond, who was hanging open-mouthed. "Am I still looking?" Leslie continued. "I never stopped. For 20 years I tried to find the one again. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one."